Just wait for the. Okay, awesome. All right. As usual, uh, good afternoon to everyone and welcome to Atma webinars. This is the first webinar of 2025, so thank you all for being here. And it gives me great pleasure to do this month on month with great speakers. So for those who don't know, I'm Vaishali, a senior consultant at Atma. And since 2007, we have been supporting NGOs by building capacity and creating systems to solve organizational development issues. And that's also the topic of our webinar today. And the webinar series itself was started in 2017. It is intended to be a platform where speakers with practical experiences come and talk about it. They share their knowledge that can benefit all of us in the sector, right? And we cover a wide range of topics, finance, fundraising, M&E, communications, all of it. And I would encourage all of you to go and see all of our past webinars that have been put up on the YouTube channel as well. And yes, and without further ado, today uh, we have someone from Atma itself, a very dear friend and colleague. So I invite Kavita today. And just before I give her the handover to her, I'm just going to speak a little bit about her. So Kavita is a lead consultant at Atma, and she manages the Accelerator program, our flagship program that builds organizational capacities of NGOs. And she also contributes to a lot of sector building initiatives and workshops. Her work is extremely thorough. I can attest to that. And you'll also see one of the mammoth tasks she's taken up is creating the intermediary database, which we'll also talk about later today, if you haven't seen it already. She has over 14 years of experience in the sector, and she's held diverse roles in mentoring for non-profit leaders on these very issues. She has worked with EdelGive Foundation, UnLtd India, and various other NGOs as independent consultant. She holds a postgraduate degree in management and human resources from Mumbai. And yes, welcome today, Kavita. And just a request to everyone that we'll try to keep the webinar bilingual as much as possible in English and Hindi. Not everybody is comfortable in Hindi, so we may have to rely on English a bit more. तो लेकिन अगर आपको अगर हिंदी में कोई भी अनुवाद की ज़रूरत है तो आप चैट बॉक्स में लिखें। कविता तो कोशिश करेगी ही कि वो थोड़ा हिंदी मिक्स करके बात करे, लेकिन अगर आपको कोई पॉइंट अगर समझ में नहीं आया तो आप पूछ भी सकते हैं, और आप चैट बॉक्स में लिखेंगे तो हम उस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट का अनुवाद भी करके वहाँ पर लिख सकते हैं। And all the questions can be in Hindi and English. Those are the languages we are comfortable in. And तो आप सवाल आपके कोई भी भाषा में पूछ सकते हैं. And a request to keep the session interactive. We have prepared some things, but would request all of you to stay as interactive as possible and ask your questions in the chat box, and we have enough time to discuss as well. So with that, over to you, Kavita.
Yes, thank you so much, Vaishali. And good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. Really happy and excited to be here today for the Atma webinar, and really happy to see all of you today participating in this. So thank you so much, first of all, for joining and taking the time for doing this. Just wanted to let you know that we'll make this as interactive as possible. So feel free to ask questions. There will be space to ask questions. या तो फिर आप अपने questions chat box पे भी डाल सकते हो. There are going to be quizzes and polls also in between, so please pay attention throughout the session. So we'll try to make it as interactive as possible, and please turn on your videos also as much as possible so that we can see each other and learn from each other. Really hope that the next 1.5 hours that we have is a really good time well spent for all of us. So thank you so much and welcome everyone. All right, so I'm just going to share my screen to go through a presentation, and we can then take it up from there. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Okay, so the topic for today's session, why we are going to talk about building critical organizational capacities for growth and impact. So first of all, just to look at key organizational capacities kya hoti hai, for us, for the organization, and why are they critical to our organization? What does it really help us to achieve in the long run? Those are the kind of questions that we are going to try and answer through today's session. So what we are going to do is we are going to look upon some of the data and the research. We are going to start with that so that we are able to understand कि challenges और gaps कहाँ पे है और क्यों ये organizational capacities important हो जाते हैं build करने के लिए. So सबसे पहला तो we'll just touch upon on some of the challenges, just to look into the reasons of why we need to invest so much time, effort into the capacity building of our organization. What does it mean? Then we are going to look at a framework on some of these capacities that we have identified. So as Vaishali was saying, that we have been working with a lot of NGOs and we are working on certain organizational development areas with them. तो हर एक area में उनकी क्या ज़रूरतें रहती है, how do they build some of those things, और किस तरह से उनको उसका फायदा होता है, and how are they able to build their organizations, grow कैसे करेंगे, sustain कैसे करेंगे, right? तो सबसे important चीज़ है कि all of us are doing this good work, we have this impact, पर उसको सस्टेन कैसे करना है, राइट? तो वो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है. तो आज हम लोग ये क्रिटिकल कैपेसिटीज का फ्रेमवर्क इसलिए देख रहे हैं सो दैट वी आर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड कि क्या हमें प्रायोरिटाइज करना चाहिए, कौन से कैपेसिटीज पे फोकस करना चाहिए और किस तरह से इन्हें हम बिल्ड कर सकते हैं, right? And lastly, we are also going to do a demo today on an intermediary database that we have created. So agar support chahiye bhi, so there are resources available that you can access, right? So this is going to be the agenda of today's session. Let's start with the key challenges and gaps, right? So एक डेटा पॉइंट है जो हम लोग हमेशा ढूंढते हैं और लाइक सोचते हैं कि टोटल जो हमारा इंडिया की इकोनॉमी का जीडीपी है उसमें से हाउ मच परसेंटेज डज एन एनजीओ कंट्रीब्यूट, राइट? जो हमारा पूरा सोशल सेक्टर है. आपको क्या लगता है, इफ somebody कैन जस्ट टेक अ गेस and let me know, either put it on the chat box or just unmute, let me know how much do you think is the percentage of GDP that the social sector is contributing to India's economy. And these data are available online. So this is something which is good to look at the overall landscape जहाँ पे हम काम कर रहे हैं. So anybody wants to just take a guess? Right, just feel free to share. इसमें कुछ सही गलत नहीं होता है. This is just feel free to share. Okay, sorry, there are some responses coming in the chat box. Okay. 4 to 5%, 15%, 35%. अरे वाह, बढ़ ही रहा है 4 to 5 से 35. अच्छा, so actual figure जो है, actual figure जो है is 8.3%. I think the closest was Murlidhar ji and Pawan Nayak. I think you both were closest to it because 8.3% currently जो हमारा social sector का contribution है GDP का, which is 23 lakh crores. That is what it is coming to. Okay, next ये जानना है कि total NGOs कितने registered है. Again, just take a small guess. कितने? Okay, you meant 3.5%. Okay, no problem. How many total number of NGOs exist as per the registered? Registered NGOs कितने हैं? 3.5 lakhs, 10 lakhs. Oh wow, 30 lakhs. That's okay. Good guesses are coming in. 10 lakhs भी हो सकते हैं. Okay. So अलग अलग range के responses आ रहे हैं. Let's look at the answer. It is 2.69 lakhs. The last I checked on NGO Darpan, जहाँ पे registered NGOs हैं. So yeah, I'm sure उससे ज्यादा होंगे. Like most of you would be right from the chat box. I'm sure ज्यादा है, लेकिन जो registered है, जिनका ID है NGO Darpan पे, close to even what income tax portal also says, is around 2.697 lakhs. Okay. The next thing that I wanted to focus on, just to bring this as, some perspective and viewpoint for all of you is one of the research that was conducted by Britspan. And we all must have heard Britspan does a lot of important work in the space of strategy and research. So they had conducted a survey with around 388 NGOs and also done some financial analysis just to check on the certain aspects of, how well funded some of these NGOs are and where do they stand in terms of the capacity building. Right? So सबसे पहला, what did they find out? सबसे पहला ये था कि देयर आर एटलीस्ट जितने भी एनजीओस का सर्वे किया है उसमें से एटलीस्ट 83% स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं जस्ट टू सिक्योर इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट. नाउ व्हाट आर दीज इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट? सो ऑल योर प्रोग्रामेटिक के अलावा जो भी आपके कॉस्ट है, नॉन प्रोग्रामेटिक कॉस्ट है, ऑपरेशंस कॉस्ट है, एडमिन कॉस्ट है, और आपके ओडी कॉस्ट है, मतलब आपके कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग कॉस्ट है. जो भी कॉस्ट आपको आपके टीम के ट्रेनिंग के लिए, आपको ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को डेवलप करने के लिए लगते हैं, वो सारे कॉस्ट इनडायरेक्ट कॉस्ट में आते हैं. एंड दैट इज द नंबर वन स्ट्रगल पॉइंट फॉर एनजीओस टुडे टू बी एबल टू रेज फंड्स फॉर सम ऑफ these indirect cost. And I'm sure all of you might have seen this as a challenge as well in your own journey. So that was one data that came out of it. Second, जो हम operating surplus बोलते हैं कि at least we have certain surplus जिसका operations cost हम manage कर सकते हैं. So at least 50% of the NGOs जिनको survey किया था, उनके पास reserves 3 महीने के कम थे, less than 3 months they had reserves, और surplus भी नहीं था पिछले 3 साल के. So whatever funds they were raising, they were all getting exhausted and utilized. तो ऐसा कुछ surplus funds नहीं बचता because everything is getting utilized into your program and organizations. So at least 50% of such NGOs didn't have those reserves and surplus. Third, let's look at this. कि how many of them said that they invest in your organizational development? मतलब कितने ऐसे लोग हैं जो अपने बजट में ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल डेवलपमेंट के कॉस्ट एलोकेट भी करते हैं, उनको वो फंडिंग भी मिलता है, राइट? तो ऐसे देर आर ओनली 18% ऑफ द रिस्पोंडेंट्स हु सेड दैट दे एक्चुअली इन्वेस्ट, मतलब दे एक्चुअली पुट इन सम कॉस्ट फ्रॉम देयर बजट फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल बिल्डिंग, राइट? सो ये कुछ डेटा पॉइंट्स है जिससे हमें पता चलता है कि करंटली कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग में क्या गैप्स है, क्या चैलेंजेस है, क्या ज़रूरतें हैं, राइट? तो ये पॉइंट से ये पता चलता है. There were certain interesting insights and data points that came out from the funders also, right? Because ये survey थोड़े funders के साथ भी किया था. So let's see what are the funders saying. Right? So सबसे पहला ये है कि funders बोल रहे हैं कि NGOs don't make a clear ask. तो एक ये भी है कि अगर funding चाहिए organization development के लिए, तो आधी NGOs even budgeting for it and आधी even asking for it. So almost half the funders said कि नहीं पूछ रहे हैं. Secondly, the funders also say that they have flexible policies around indirect cost. So अगर indirect cost चाहिए तो it's possible as well. और 75% और 77 मतलब almost 50-60 funders ऐसा भी बोल रहे हैं कि they do invest in organizational growth. मतलब उनके जो NGOs के साथ काम करते हैं उनके OD में वो लोग इन्वेस्ट करते हैं. लेकिन कुछ NGOs का ये भी मानना था कि they have been denied organizational development cost. पूछने पे so sometimes we do include some of these costs, right? So हमारे training cost, capacity cost, ये सारे cost हम include करते हैं हमारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को बिल्ड करने के लिए. टेक्नोलॉजी कॉस्ट है, ये सारे कॉस्ट हम डालते हैं, लेकिन कई बार फंडर्स नहीं देते हैं. सो 51% ऑफ एनजीओज आर agreeing to that and saying that. So this some of this data points just wanted to highlight and bring this to your notice कि अगर आपने ये सारे existing जो ब्रिट्सपैन के रिपोर्ट्स है उसमें ये डेटा existing है, this is directly related to the gaps in capacity building and the need for investing more and more into capacity building. क्योंकि हम ये पूरा फ्रेमवर्क देखेंगे, हम ये पूरा सब नॉलेज तो है कि व्हाट ऑल वी हैव टू डू टू बिल्ड द कैपेसिटीज, लेकिन अगर फंडिंग नहीं होगा तो वो आगे हम लेके नहीं जाएंगे. एंड दैट इज व्हाई दिस पर्सपेक्टिव इज इम्पोर्टेंट to seek funding for capacity building and to also include it in your budget and to ask this to the funders, right? So on that note, I wanted to just start off. Right. Any questions, any thoughts over here?
Hi, this is Sushil. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So this this point, which is saying about 75% of 77 funders, they are telling that they are willing to invest in OD of the organization.
Yeah.
See, because someone, it means if you have done this research or someone else who have done this research, it means I don't have any question on that. But as per my experience, I'm in the sector for the last 16, 17 years on the different levels with different sort of organizations. This doesn't look realistic, because when we talk, maybe in first or second conversation they are okay, ठीक है, हम देख लेंगे, आप पहले पूरा तो बनाइए प्रपोजल, आप पहले पूरा उसको कंक्रीट लेवल पे ले तो आइए, and then when we go on the final discussion, then they start telling, अरे नहीं, ये 10% तो आपने ज्यादा कर दिया है, ये 15% तो ज्यादा कर दिया है, इसको आप थोड़ा और कम पे ले आइए. So this just saying yes, हाँ definitely, because it looks very idealistic ना, कि हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल, क्यों नहीं, हम तो आपकी सहायता करना चाहते हैं. बट व्हेन इट कम्स ऑन एक्चुअल पॉइंट, then things goes here and there. So it is just my point of view. I'm not telling this is wrong, but yeah, maybe they have shown their interest, but showing interest and doing that on actual basis, these are two different things.
Sure, sure. I mean, this is again just a sample size of data that was available based on the research they did. So don't want to really get into the discussion, but this is something which the data tells us. And there will be more cases jahan pe ye hua hoga. So again, this I'm saying the data size alag alag hota hai, right? So har ek ka experience alag raha hoga isme.
I mean, and the data also says that 51% have said, NGOs have said that they have been denied. So the point of the research is also that there is this discrepancy in the sector. जो आप बोल रहे हैं सर, तो वो है ही वो discrepancy. So yeah, sorry Kavita, you can continue.
Yes, yes.
May I say something or later or this question only?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Parinita Kanetkar from SUSWA Training and Promotion Institute. I will take only 1 minute. Don't want to interrupt the discussion. But since we are talking about the interest of the funders in investing in organizational development, the earlier gentleman participant, what he mentioned, we also do intros. On the contrary, even it is very difficult to charge or budget for the project management cost, which is hardly 5 to 7% of the total budget. Even there, NGOs have to do a lot of struggle, a lot of bargaining, and a lot of convincing with the corporate. In some cases, the corporates, the funder itself, themselves have a policy that they don't support the senior management time cost that they invest in directing the program, which we have experienced. Having said this, we have also come across some corporates who have willingly said that if the NGO itself is interested in developing its own capacity, aligning with the program implementation, they can budget 2 to 3% for the organizational development. This is the feedback I want to give. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing your thoughts. And like I said, there's no one answer. Everybody has a different experience. There are funders who might give, not give. So we didn't want to get into that discussion, but this is just to know that this is the current situation that exists, and all of you are right in your own experience, that you have. So definitely that, but it's still important that we invest in capacity building, even if it is through limited resources. The idea is that we continue building our organizations, because that is something which is going to lead us to the growth and sustainability that we are looking at. So that's why a lot of times when we have worked with our own partner organizations and we have looked at other partners as well, this is something which we know that, when you invest in your capacity building, you will be able to grow in terms of whether it is your budget size, whether it is in terms of your stakeholders or beneficiaries that you serve, or you just get the confidence to become more financially sustainable because you have certain systems, processes in place that help you to continue doing your work better, effectively, and also do more innovative work and just increase your expansion, increase your impact that you want to create, reach to your mission and goals. So a lot of these positive developments will slowly start seeing if you are able to invest and build your organization's capacity. And a lot of this can be done internally as well. And what are those internal capacities that we need to really focus on is what we are going to look at today. Right, again, this is just a slide that shows, I might just skip through some of the slides in the interest of time, but this might be available to you later as a recording. So this is just for you to know that the base is always strengthening of the current capacities that we have. So it is building upon our own knowledge, skill sets, using the right tools, processes, so that we are able to effectively function and operate. Everything then goes into your autopilot mode that we talk about, right? So that strengthening your base with the right sets of knowledge, skills, processes is a must, when you're building this capacity building for your organization. Then the next phase, what happens is that we are also able to adapt ourselves. So if there are any such challenging environments that come up, like even the whole COVID thing came up, or sometimes there is a turnover happening in the organization, employees are leaving us. But if there's a certain system and process that is built, then it just becomes easier for us to then keep functioning without major hurdles, right? So that way, it's very important to invest in that capacity. Then people who come, join, start, using it and taking it forward. And this ultimately leads to a state of sustainability. So not full 100% sustainability, I would say, but still to a point that, whether it is your financial resources or your people resources, you're able to use and leverage these resources with the right systems in place, right? So this is the whole hierarchy in which we are looking at capacity building. Okay. Now moving to the critical, like let's just identify that for this purpose, we have identified like 6 capacities that we will be focusing for today's session. Of course, there are more capacities in the organization, so that also needs to continue to be built. But some of the critical ones that we thought that we'll touch upon today, based on our own experience, we wanted to put that down. So again, if anybody in the chat box wants to share, according to you, if you can give examples of 1 or 2 capacities that you think are the most critical ones for the organization. Right? When we say capacities, what do we mean? We mean that certain organizational areas in which we are functioning, right? So which would be those areas in your organization that you feel are critical to the growth and success of your organization? Yes, Namita. Finance, HR, these are some of the areas. Fundraising, yes. Yeah, even communications, finance, HR, communications. So a lot of responses coming in for even HR, donors, so related to fundraising, monitoring and evaluation, yes. And even themes related, yes. I think half of the capacities you guys have been able to address this, because this is something which we all, work towards. So I'll just list them down. Financial sustainability, which will cover all your fundraising and everything. But financially, we need to be sustainable as an organization to continue to grow and sustain. Second is people, very important aspect of the organization. Again, when we talk about HR, there are a lot of different things in HR. One is system, one is people. So let's focusing a bit more on people as well. Culture and values is one capacity, because a lot of time this gets ignored, though it very much falls under HR, but we just want to call it out as culture and values so that we are able to build that in a more focused way for the organization. Then there's leadership. Leadership, very important, how the leadership is taking the organization forward, the strategy, direction, everything comes from the leadership. So very important, again, area to build. Networks and partnerships is also something which we thought was really important from a standpoint that will actually help you to grow and scale up. And monitoring and evaluation, very well guessed. I think that definitely important to measure the impact and to monitor the work that you're doing. So we are going to touch upon these 6 capacities today. Like I said, of course, others are also important, but we are just looking at some of these critical ones. And we are going to look at what is the picture of success for some of these capacities. So what is that end outcome that we want to achieve? हम लोग कब कह पाएंगे कि हमने ये capacities achieve कर ली है? Like किस तरह के outcomes हमें दिखने चाहिए to be able to build that capacity in the organization. So we are going to look at those outcomes. And along with the outcomes, we are also going to look at some of the inputs that go into this, right? Okay, let's go through one area. A lot of other chat responses have also come. So agreeing that all the strategic partnerships, knowledge management, all of that gets covered within some of these areas that we have mentioned. Right. So the first area is on financial sustainability. I'll just pause after each area if you all have any questions or doubts on that. So one is, when do we say that we are financially sustainable, or what does the picture of success really look like, in terms of finances and fundraising? So एक तो really important ये है कि we are not really dependent on one single donor for a huge amount of money, because it's possible that if tomorrow they stop supporting us, then we don't have that pipeline, or we are not able to easily sustain, because we have to then actually reach out to more donors. So it's always good to have एक ऐसा donor base होना चाहिए जहाँ पे it's not just one or two donors, but you have more number of donors, at least 3 to 4 donors who are supporting your organization. So this is just an indicator that we have put just to say that 30 to 40% से ज़्यादा funding ideally नहीं होना चाहिए for a single donor. Second, we are talking about repeat fund is again very important metric for us to be able to track and make sure that we have at least 40 to 50% funders which are repeating every year. It just gives that stability to some of our programs that are being funded, and it also gives us that extra leeway to add more donors without losing donors, right? So utne repeat funders with at least multi-year funding commitments. So a lot of funders start with 1 year, but we are also seeing that funding is moving to a 2 to 3 year period as well. So if you have a funding commitment for a program for say 2 years, 3 years, then at least you don't have to worry about those 3 years. So it's important to have donors who give you more than 1 year funding also. Third, we are talking about the fundraising channels या कौन-कौन से sources है. So whether it is a corporate or a foundation, retail fundraising है, HNIs है, या फिर individual donations आते हैं crowdfunding campaign से. So at least some amount of percentage is coming from each of these sources. That way थोड़ा portfolio balanced रहेगा. तो tomorrow if there is any external challenge, say with corporates or some new policies have come, then at least you are able to reach out to some known networks of donors through your HNIs and things like that. So at least seeking funds from different channels is advisable. Then fourth is looking at a revenue model that generates 15 to 20%, whatever is the allowable limit, up to 20% right now. So at least, we are saying that हमारे पास donors capacity building cost नहीं देते हैं. Sometimes of costs are not funded by the donors. But if we try and have a revenue model, then at least some amount is coming through that, which gives us an assurance कि हाँ, जहाँ पे बिल्कुल we are not able to raise money, we can, cover it up with some of the revenues that are being generated. So good to have that, thinking about some of the revenue model if it's possible, to make it more sustainable for the organization. There are a couple of more in financial sustainability. So one, we were looking at funding availability for capacity building. So मतलब थोड़े funds होने चाहिए capacity building के लिए, तो वो हमें allocate करके रखने हैं. Sixth, we are talking about having a general reserve fund for ensuring long-term sustainability. Now, this is again a challenge that we have been facing, but having a little bit of reserve fund will help you, especially in, like emergency or contingency situations. Multi-year budgets. So having a 2 to 3 year budget lined up for your organization is a good way to start looking at, how you slowly build upon those surpluses. Seventh point is mainly to do with your financial compliances, which we all are aware of. To make sure that 100% compliances are in place, this is a must, given the fact that we have all the audited financial statements, taxations, all of that is clear. And the last point over here is having a financial runway. मतलब your cash and bank balance जो होता है, वो at least अगले 6 महीने तक का हो, so that your minimal cost of your operations get taken care of, right? So at least next 6 महीने तक you know that you can take care of your minimal cost, and then you're constantly parallelly also raising funds for it. तो ये कुछ outcomes हैं, indicators हैं, जिससे you will reach to an state of a success or a picture of success जैसे हम बुलाते हैं. But just to know that this is also like a goal for you to reach to. So wherever you feel you're already doing great, continue doing that. But जहाँ पे you feel like we are not yet there, कुछ gaps है, challenges हैं, तो work towards that is what I would say. I would just pause here for a minute if there are any quick questions, because after this, I want to just एडमिनिस्टर अ पोल, मतलब एक क्विक पोल है और जिसमें कुछ स्टेटमेंट्स है, क्वेश्चंस है जो आपको येस और नो आंसर करने हैं, बिकॉज इट विल बी लाइक अ लाइव असेसमेंट फॉर यू कि ये कैपेसिटी के अंदर आप क्या क्या करते हो या फिर क्या गैप्स है. सो इट I thought it will be a nice way to do this. Of course, it will be available to you later also, but for now, if you all can participate, it will be great and it will be more interactive. So I'm just pausing here for a minute. Any quick thoughts or questions?
Kavita, when we are talking about the financial sustainability, we talked about the ideal situations here. Okay. I feel that, it's a personal thought. If it would be nice if there would have been some prototype, maybe examples would have been there, one or two scenario based thing that would have been more probably elaborate and transparent. That's the thought I wanted to say.
Right, right. I think we can share examples as well. Maybe first let's do the poll and inputs, because inputs will give you examples of how to build some of these things, right? So the idea is the questions in the poll are actually inputs to achieving some of these outcomes. So let's take a look at that and then let me know if that, gives you some example ideas of, how to go about it.
Thank you.
I think Fatima also has a hand raised.
Yeah, Fatima.
Fatima, you are on mute. We can hardly hear you.
You can see she's not on mute, but anyway, Fatima, if you can hear us, maybe you can add your question in the chat box.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Fatima, just see now you're back here.
Okay,
Good.
great. Okay, I'll have to, I think, sync my Bluetooth again. All right. I wanted to quickly check the point number 8, which is mentioned, maintaining a financial runway of 6 to 9 months. Is this kept in mind, keeping a certain NGO structure or a size in mind?
For any NGO, actually, maybe not a very small NGO, it could be like 3 months.
Could you quantify that small so we can further understand what can be allotted or accepted?
Yeah, so say if you're operational less than 3 years or less than 5 years in that age range, we understand that it takes time to build a donor base and it takes time to have that sort of, bank balance. But
Okay.
if you are like, say, at least in like operating since 5 years plus with a budget of at least 50 lakhs, 1 CR plus, that kind of a range we are looking at, then it means that we would have to have some amount of financial runway, right? So
And any team size in this for that kind of category?
there's no such indicator like, for this size of an NGO, this is the ideal team size. It will be obviously in proportion, because generally what we have seen with NGOs and, a lot of the databases that we have, like team sizes are usually small. So I don't think that would be the right indicator to say that, you have to have a certain team size for that. I think the age and the budget is important, because age will determine like how much operations you have done. And budget will also help you understand that how much already funding you have secured. So I would say that minimum 3 months, even for a small to mid-sized organization, but for a more established, mature organization that has 1 CR plus funding, they should look at least 6 months financial runway, to sustain. Yeah.
Thank you for addressing that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if all of you have access to Mentimeter, right? So you just have to go to menti.com. And you can like scan this QR code over here, or I think Vaishali will put a code in the chat box. All you have to do is log in into this website, menti.com. They will ask you for a code. Enter the code 46014945. That's the code. And once you are able to log into, you will be displayed a quiz or a poll over there.
I'll just share the link also.
Yeah,
And
this is
of
the
course, you can also do it the way Kavita has mentioned. Sorry, I'm having some issues copying the link. 1 second. And of course, जो Mentimeter नहीं join कर पा रहे हैं, आप chat box में भी answers डाल सकते हैं. Just give us a thumbs up if you're if you're ready with if you've opened the Mentimeter at your end. Oh, we can see some answers have started coming in. That's great. And a request to not go on to the next question till Kavita says so. But yeah, okay.
So the questions have started. Okay. We'll move to the next question after everyone's done with this question.
Yeah. So first question is, do you have annual fundraising targets for the current year and at least the next 2 years? So that's 3 years in total, segmented by fundraising challenges, channels and donor categories. क्या आपके मतलब फंड रेजिंग के टारगेट्स हैं इस साल के लिए भी और अगले 2 साल के लिए? और क्या उसमें अलग-अलग कैटेगरीज में आपने उनको बांट के रखे हैं क्या?
Okay, we've got like 21 people joined in, 22. Okay. Okay, anybody else, or we can move to the next question? Do you have a clear fundraising strategy and plan supported by a system to monitor progress, evaluate activities and make real-time updates? मतलब एक fundraising strategy है कि हम किस तरह के donors को approach करना चाहते हैं, what is the percentage of funding that we are looking across different channels? Do we have a system to track, have a like a system to track कि कहाँ से कितना fundraising हुआ है, trend analysis करना, वो सारी चीजें इसमें cover होती है. So somewhat meaning कुछ हद तक है, but it's not fully developed and not yet there. So a lot more scope is there, right? Okay, moving to the next question. Do you have a dedicated donor pipeline? Donor pipeline मतलब एक database जहाँ पे आपके पास potential leads हो donors के, which are the right target donors for you. और उस pipeline के हिसाब से we are connecting and reaching out to the donors where we know कि कौन हमारे लिए सबसे suitable donor रह सकता है based on the research that we have done. और उसके basis पे एक pipeline tracker होना जहाँ पे status, communications ये सारी चीजें हम track कर सके. So 2 लोगों के पास है, but majority of them are somewhat there or not there. Okay. Moving to the next question. Do you have a strong network of offline channels like board members, peers, advisors? ये आपके networks है, channels है जहाँ से आप fundraise कर सकते हो, and online platforms where you can reach out to them. Yeah, waiting for more responses to come in. All right. So some of us have and most of us not. So I think you can see the screen also. यहाँ पे किस तरह का responses आ रहे हैं. Do you have a donor engagement plan? तो जो भी हमारे potential donors है और existing donors है, how do we engage with them on a day-to-day basis? किस तरह के updates हमें share करने चाहिए, क्या resources भेजने चाहिए, किस तरह का वो connection build करना है, how do we invite them for other events, how do we engage them in our work in a way that they are motivated enough to engage and work with us every year, right? So इस तरह का plan tracker काफी लोगों के पास नहीं है, कुछ हद तक 6-7 लोगों के पास है. Okay. So it's a very mixed, balanced approach, but this will also give us a sense of where we are at. All right, so यहाँ तक let's pause and let's go back to the next area because we'll do by each capacity. तो step by step poll करेंगे, सारा poll एक साथ नहीं करेंगे. तो we'll just go back to our presentation. I hope you all can see my screen. Okay, so financial sustainability के बाद the next that we are talking about is people. Now, what all falls under people and what are the things that we need to be mindful of, right, when it comes to people? So, सबसे पहला तो we always talk about that whether we have been able to fill in all our positions or not. तो हमारे पास वो 100% capacity पे run होने वाली team है या नहीं. Size of the team matters in the sense that if we have like 10 positions, are those all 10 positions filled out or not? That's the first thing, right? Second is key, do they have the right skill sets? And if they don't have the right skill sets, how are we building those skills in our team members? Alignment है या नहीं? जो role expectations है उसके हिसाब से are we hiring the right people or not? So very important to look at the skills competencies and the alignment to the role and the expectations that we have, because this in turn will lead to a reduced attrition rate, right? So the team, most important. Then second, we also need to have an organization structure in place jahan pe people management is happening. So there are clear lines of reporting, clear lines of structure, jahan pe we know that, as a team, how are we functioning? Who is kind of working with which team, or wahan pe is there a clear line of authority or not? Because that will enable timely decision making. There won't be any confusion whom to reach out to in terms of decision making, in terms of reporting on the programs, and are we encouraging employees growth as well, right? So that entire structure, does it exist or not in the organization? Then the third point is on the systems, policies, frameworks to manage employee performance. So do we have a framework that helps us measure the performance in the right way, which means कि हमारे पास वो KRAs है, KPIs है, कुछ success metrics है जिसे हम measure कर पा रहे हैं. People are also अलाइन टू इट कि किस तरह से उनका परफॉर्मेंस मेजर हो रहा है, किस तरह से उनका रोल मॉनिटर हो रहा है, आर द राइट पॉलिसीज एग्जिस्टिंग जहाँ पे उनको फेयर चांस मिलता है, डू वी हैव एनी फाइनेंशियल नॉन फाइनेंशियल बेनिफिट्स for them or not? Because when you're looking at an organization, when we build people, it builds our organization, and it builds the impact that you want to see. So a lot of thing is dependent on the people and the team that you're working with. So agar team or people are in place, these are some of the processes that are regularly happening in your organization, then it means that you are in a better position to sustain and grow, as you want to grow. Fourth point talks about the ability to attract the right talent. So ये एक चीज रहती है जो हम consciously हम नहीं करते हैं, but it's very again important to थोड़ा strategically think about this and say that okay, we need to build a pipeline of good candidates, because we all know that people at some point will leave, and hence it's very important to build that talent pipeline. And in order to get the right applications, to get the right people to our organization, तो उसके लिए we have to build certain things and have certain things in place. So we are building like an employer brand. We have the right competitive compensation structures, जैसे market standards है वैसे हमारा culture के हिसाब से लोग fit हो रहे हैं. It's not like completely opposite है तो fit नहीं होगा, then obviously they will create problems in the organization. Alignment to vision again है या नहीं, जो cause के लिए हम काम करते हैं, are they even passionate about that cause? So a lot of these things matter, and we want to attract the right kind of candidates. So इसके लिए we have to do some of the planning in advance, so that we are able to reach out to our networks in the right way. We are able to create a recognition of our organization in a brand in such a way that this happens. And fifth, we are talking about ki, do the team also get opportunities to grow? Career wise, everybody wants to grow. So क्या वो opportunities हमारे organization में exist करती है? When you're looking at your organization structure, always look at ways in which you can grow employees, at certain levels. किस तरह से उनको वो incentive दिया जा सकता है, whether it is in terms of promotion, whether it's in terms of designation or better role itself. How do you, give them those career and training opportunities, which will build some amount of satisfaction in your employees. So at least wo engaged rahe, satisfied rahe. That as an HR, we are making sure that this should happen, right? So again, these are all the end goals that we are looking to achieve. But at the same time, there are certain inputs that will go into it to achieve this. I'll take up the next area also, the culture, because it's both part of your HR area. So your culture and values also equally important, like I said. So as much as your people are making the organization, the culture that you're building in the organization is also affecting the work of your people, and hence it is affecting the impact of your organization as well. So staff ka well-being, just making sure that, there is some amount of development that's happening in the staff as well, at a personal level, at a professional level. Wherever they are going, there is safety for your employees. Second, you have a learning culture which is actually driven by your leadership. So jo leaders here, they are actually driving this culture of bringing everybody together, say for workshops, for training sessions, learnings ho rahe hai, feedback system, very, very important that a lot of time ये बहुत बाद में आता है, लोग feedback देते हैं, but हम लोग कभी proactively feedback नहीं मांगते हैं. So to build that culture or a value-based organization, very important to again create a mechanism that collects the feedback for the organization, and there's a constant dialogue with your employees so that nothing is coming at a very later stage. So how do we build that in the organization, right? And third, we are also talking about an outcomes or results-oriented culture, which means that we are looking at the performance, we are looking at the learning, and we are looking at the innovative practices that are being built into the organization. So all of these things will matter. So again, all your planning, everything has to take into account. So are we doing culture workshops? Are we having culture conversations with our employees? Are there examples or role models in the organization through which there are certain values that you see and people, मतलब ये सारी चीजें leadership से आनी चाहिए, so that from that level itself, people are observing constantly. And when you're observing your managers, your leaders, what values do they have that they bring in the organization is something that is going to sit with the organization, and you all will have to take that forward. So this conversation has to be had at each level to make sure that everybody is displaying the same amount of culture. Right? What we can do is we can do one more poll combined for both of this, and then I will pause for any questions. Does that work with everyone? Because we have 3 more areas to cover, and I'm okay. Can you all go back to the Mentimeter again? The same website, same code, everything same.
Oh, for those who have maybe joined in now, I'm sharing the link again.
And I'm just sharing my screen also again, so people are able to see it.
And of course, please do keep the questions coming, and we'll be happy to share like some of the things that we know our partner organizations are doing, which is working, not working. Going back to what someone earlier had asked about more case studies to be shared, right?
Okay, so after the fundraising, we'll move to the next area, which is on the people's area, where we were talking about all of these outcomes that we are looking to achieve. Now, what again are the inputs that we need to do in order to achieve that? So one is having your hiring plan and strategy that builds your employer brand, and it will help you to build a talent pipeline through your diverse network. So how many of us already have that in place? Say yes. कुछ हद तक है तो somewhat, and if it does not exist currently, then we can say no, just to give you a live assessment of your organization. Okay, great. I have like 20 responses come in. Great. Moving to the next question. Do you implement a structured recruitment process? So सबसे पहले तो उसमें are there defined JDs? Do you know the different levels of your recruitment process? Do you have evaluation and selection criteria for each of the roles and positions? If it is there, great. There are like 10 people who already have this. Some people who are still building on it. Yeah. I think this is an ongoing process for every organization, but just to keep reviewing it and refining it at every stage, because this again aligns with your employer brand that we are trying to build in. So getting good quality of applications, being able to close your recruitment within the certain time period, all of these are indicators to say that how strong this function is in your organization. Okay, 25 responses in. Do you have a performance management system? Again, like I said, at an organization level, do you have your goals, your KRAs in place? At a program and an individual level, do you have the KRAs in place? Do you have evaluation criterias, metrics to be able to measure the performance? And do you have policies that help you promote and grow people in your organization? Agar ye sab cheezein hai, if all of these things are there, then only put yes. अगर कुछ चीजें हैं कुछ चीजें नहीं है तो put somewhat, नहीं तो put a no, right? I'm waiting for a few more responses before the next question. Okay, we have 24 responses come in. Yeah, it's important to have each and everything. We have to finish the whole process completely. Like KRAs है लेकिन KPIs नहीं है तो नहीं चलेगा, right? Everything needs to be there. All right, I'll move to the next question. Do we have a dedicated learning and development budget and plan for each employee with on-the-job learning opportunities as well as customized training programs for them? because this again plays an important role in your employees' engagement satisfaction, hence less retention, all of that, Sorry, less attrition. Yeah. Okay, most of us don't have L&D budgets or plans. I mean, there are a lot of ways in which even without a budget, you can still on the job provide mentorship opportunities, cross-functional learning हो सकता है, वो काफी job opportunities create की जा सकती है. But yeah, we have 26 responses. Next question. Talking about, do we have policies to support employees' well-being? जैसे हमारे कुछ पॉश पॉलिसीज हो गए, विसल ब्लोअर पॉलिसीज हो गई, व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग विद चिल्ड्रन चाइल्ड सेफ गार्डिंग पॉलिसी हो गई. सो ये सारे पॉलिसीज डू वी हैव, एंड डू वी हैव फ्लेक्सिबल वर्क एनवायरनमेंट एज वेल कि if somebody is not well or somebody has some personal emergency, it's okay, right? Sometimes mental health policies, wellness programs for employees once in a while, where we also acknowledge, some of these things. Good to see that a lot of you have these policies in place and some of you are building it up as well. Okay, great. Next is, do you conduct regular employee satisfaction surveys to identify areas of improvement? And do you have a feedback system to get feedback from the employees or give feedback to employees to address some of their concerns, challenges, jo bhi hai? Yeah. Waiting for more responses.
Meanwhile, Pavan has also asked a question. What if
Can
we
you
have everything? Yeah, but we can take that up in some time, Pavan sir.
Just we'll finish this section poll and then we'll pause 5 minutes for questions. Okay, great. I'll move to the next question. I think we have just one more to go. Do you invest in continuous professional development through training programs? So do you send your employees for any such training programs, courses, या फिर internal learning sessions आप करवाते हो, external speakers को बुलाते हो, या फिर do you have any such platforms where resources are shared amongst the team members so that they learn from each other, peer learning करवाते हो? A lot of these things fall under professional development. And again, these are the ones that will lead you to the picture of success we are talking about. Great to see that a lot of people are doing this for their employees. It will really help you to, build the right culture. और जो नहीं कर रहे उनको, I think, should do some of these things as well. Okay. Do you clearly communicate the organization's values to all staff and incorporate them into performance evaluations and team goals? तो इसमें दो चीजें होती है कि एक तो people are aware of organizational values क्योंकि एक document में लिखा है और हमने वो दे दिया. Secondly, do we bring the value conversations during हमारा performance appraisal जब होता है employees के साथ? It's again very important कि खाली performance ना देखे, but their alignment to the values. For the organization, just to see if they are not, then how else they can change. So a lot of these things need to be brought into conversations. So are we doing that or not? And also giving, like I said, role model examples. So a lot of you are doing it, which is great to see. And do you use team building activities, cross-functional projects to encourage collaboration, strengthen relationship among staff? I think this is the last one, or we can skip. Yeah. Okay, so cross-functional collaboration is also one of the aspects. So really good to see that, some of you are already practicing this. We will just pause here for questions because I know we have half an hour more to go and we have 3 more areas to cover, right? So we'll just close the poll over here. I mean, hold on to your web page. We'll come back to it at the end, but we will finish the other areas before. All right, Vaishali, if you can help me with the chat questions, we can address 2 questions before we move forward.
Yeah, there's only one so far. What if we have everything but still unable to access the funds? It's a bit unanswerable in my opinion. But yes, due to lack of network or any other reasons, there can be many things. But yeah, Kavita, if that's the only question so far. And all the questions that you see, we will be sharing with you. We'll be sharing this deck as well with you. And the questions, everyone's been asking for them. So just want to let you know that All of this, what you see, will be shared with you after the webinar as a checklist. So you can use it for reflection. Yeah, but glad to know that it's helping you already.
Right. Thanks. I think, Pawan, just one thing I would say, I mean, like, there's no like real answer to this, but one is that if we don't have any of these systems or things in place, getting funds will be really difficult, or it's the other way around, right? कि अगर ये चीजें नहीं है तो probability of not getting the funds is much higher. और ये चीजें है तो probability of getting funds, अगर नहीं है तो probability of getting funds is much lower. और अगर ये चीजें है तो at least we are ready, we are prepared. When the opportunity comes, when you are seeking funds, funders do ask for some of these things, right? And if we have these things in place, the probability of you making those conversions will be much higher. We still have to continue fundraising. We have to continue looking through various networks, participating in events, leveraging our board members, leveraging some of our mentors, advisors, constantly reaching out to people, building those networks, partnerships, um, because all of that will lead you to potential funders from which you can access funds, plus all the individual campaigns and everything that you run online, building your brand. All of these efforts together will help you to reach to a place where accessibility to funds will come. अगर ये नहीं है तो at the conversion stage, again, these things will become bottleneck या roadblocks for you to get funds. So that's my only thing that I would like to share on, your question. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. So we'll move to the next two areas and then later take up any questions on that as well. Obviously, because this is a webinar, it's a little difficult to go in depth of everything. We have tried to cover as much as we can. But yeah, I will not be able to go in detail of each and every aspect of what can be done. But this framework we wanted to share is to give this understanding and perspective so that you all are able to take it back to your organization and think through some of these things. Coming to leadership, 2-3 important points over here. One is that as a leader, you have to constantly be looking out for the sector trends, what things are working, what things are not working for the sectors that you're working in, for the areas, locations that you're working in. Being updated about all of those sector trends, insights will help you to identify the opportunities and also put resources for that. So a lot of organizations that we have seen have grown and scaled up because एक opportunity उन्होंने identify किया. They were able to innovate in some way and they were able to take it forward, right? So constantly learning about these trends is one of the key aspects of your leadership team. Second, we are talking about which every one of you knows, building a second line leadership. Again, I know this is a challenging area for most of the NGO partners that even we work with, but all of this is again related to your HR, related to how you're building your employees' skills, strengths, how are you growing them, grooming them in the organization. All of them leads to eventually building a second line of leadership for you and your organization, which is very important so that you are able to delegate some of the things, or you can focus more on the fundraising aspects. As a leader, you can focus on networks, partnerships, and your operations is more managed by your second line and the third line of leadership. So कई बार third line जो होता है, those are the people who are executing on the ground. Second line जो होता है वो managerial line होता है आपका, right? Third, we are talking about inclusive decision making. Things will not move unless there is a empowerment given to your second line, third line to make some of the decisions at their own level and invest into it, right? So that is also something that falls under the leadership bucket because ये बहुत clearly mention होना चाहिए कि who is responsible for which decisions in the organization. तो इसका जो एक रेसी metrics हम बोलते हैं वो clearly आपको define करना है as a leader for your organization, so that it's clear that who is responsible for which task and which decisions. Fourth, we are talking about relationship building because this is a constant work of a leader to build relationships with your external stakeholders, भले वो donors हो, community के लोग हो, या फिर just your other peers हो, उनके साथ constantly keeping that connection on, because you never know that what will work out and how you will be able to work with them. And team के साथ open communication, जहाँ पे even if there is anything that you are managing in terms of changes, bringing in new processes, open communication will help you achieve that. So these are the 4 scenarios or outcomes that we are looking from a leadership perspective. And in continuation to that, I would say networks and partnerships becomes a very critical area again. And here I also wanted to focus a little bit on the board itself, because governance is one of the key areas for each one of us. Each management is responsible, right, in terms of updating the board. So here, not just updating the board, मतलब update तो हम कर देते हैं, board meetings तो कर लेते हैं, but are we really engaging our board? And that is the question that we have to think. Like, are they really engaged, whether it comes to your fundraising strategy, whether it comes to, them connecting you to people, or whether it is they also guiding the decisions and direction that you want to go into next 2 to 3 years. So जो strategy planning है वो board के views को लेके हम कर सकते हैं. जो fundraising है वो board के साथ बैठ के कर सकते हैं, right? So a lot of ways in which a board can be engaged, not just updated. Second point I want to talk about is your government partnerships. So wherever it is applicable for whichever organization, very important again कि government partnerships are being built on. Do we have the resource person or the skills to be able to move into the government partnerships? But again, I will say this is applicable for those who wish to work with the government. Otherwise, it could be peers, not government. It could be peer NGOs. Like the third point talks about, do you have any such partnerships with other NGOs and other community organizations, jahan pe you are working together for a common goal on a joint project, because all of these partnerships will ultimately help you to bring the impact, to grow, to sustain. All of this contributes to it, right? So, ye sari cheezein ek saath, when you do, you see that your organization is growing. Fourth point, again, in terms of networking and partnerships, are we actively participating in the right forums and networks? There are some events that we all know are happening in the sector. A lot of online opportunities are now there to attend some of these panel discussions, webinars, things like that. So are we present in those forums? Do we talk about our work, our organization? All of those things will help you again to build networks, partnerships. It will bring a lot of visibility to your organization, and it will help you to start getting access to resources, because this is the way in which slowly, organically things build up and partnerships build up. Funding ka access bhi isi tarah se aata hai, right? So all of these things, whether your leadership is doing it or your second line is doing it, whoever is the designated person in your organization, they need to be participating in all of these things to make sure that you are building your organization slowly. Right, I'll just pause here if there are any questions. I'll just not repeat some of these points, but again, I would call out the branding that I had mentioned earlier, not just from an employee perspective, but from an overall organization branding perspective. What does your organization really stand for? जब लोग आपके बारे में बात करते हैं तो immediately उनके दिमाग में क्या आता है? That is how you build brand recognition. What is that first thing you want people to recognize you for? और वो किस तरह से वो distinctive identity आप create कर सकते हो, that will add to your credibility as well. When you're working with certain partners, when you're present on certain platforms, it builds credibility. So again, reaching out to those people to establish yourselves there. And that all leads to your recognition, credibility, of course, with the good work that you're doing. Thoda networking partnerships will push your organization forward. Right?
Kavita,
Any
questions?
questions?
If at all, I can.
Yeah.
So, Kavita, in this regard, networking and partnerships, like predominantly, any of the platforms, like it is on the top of your mind, which you can share with us, like it would be like to meet the like-minded people or from the same sector as social development, something like that. Any of the platform you would like to?
One of the recent platforms, IPN, is getting a lot of NGO registrations. If you register on IPN, IPN, India Partner Network,
okay,
they are sharing access to resources. They also conduct sessions like us. And it's an upcoming platform, I would say, where will be able to build out, you'll know more people actually, so you'll be able to build it out.
Sure.
Also being on your GiveDo platform also helps, because that also gives visibility. Then we can share a list of events that happen in the sector, because we know like 2-3 organizations that conduct events, right? Throughout
Right, yeah. That's what precisely.
Yeah, we'll share a list of those events also. But now a lot of things is happening online also. So we'll share both. Like offline events are there.
Yeah,
But sometimes if you're not able to attend, even being present on online forums will help, right?
sure.
Just making a note of it, we'll share it as a resource.
Thank
But
you.
And it's
IPN, you can
already there.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah, also already put it on the chat box.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they did do a webinar with us where they showed a demo also of their platform. So would encourage you to look at that as well if you.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would even suggest Tamuku as a platform because you do get a lot of fundraising leads from there. And they also now help you, I mean, not help you, but they also give suggestions and guidelines on writing proposals to those leads. So maybe
It
you
is
can explore that.
Tamaku, TAMAKU.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll share those links on chat as well.
Gosh, thank you.
And there is also another fundraising conference that's happening.
There is an ILSS, yeah. I mean, there are quite a few. These two, three
Yeah.
are on the top of my mind, but I
Sure.
will collate all the names and send it together. But these two, three definitely I know are the top ones
Sure. Thank you.
and give to.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, should I move? If there are no questions, then we'll take it up in the end.
Yes.
Again, being a little conscious of the time. Yeah, this is anyway the last capacity. Then we move to the poll and then questions. I think all of us know that monitoring and evaluation is the most integral part because we also want to understand and measure the impact of the work that we are doing. So it's not just about reporting to funders, but it's actually having a system in place that actually we are able to analyze our own work on a day-to-day basis and take the right decisions for our own organization. So that's how we want to look at M&E. The first thing that you can do is start creating a theory of change for your organization because that will give you a very clear picture of how you're aligning all your programs to your vision. Like where is it that you want to reach your vision and are your programs activities aligned to that vision or not? So that and you know, like what are the longer term outcomes that you want to see? Otherwise we get so engrossed in our day-to-day work कि long term outcomes हमें सोचने का वक्त नहीं मिलता है. So theory of change will help you reflect through some of this big picture for your organization. Where do you see yourself? Step by step, how will you reach your ultimate goal that you want to reach to? So having this exercise with your core team members will really help you to bring that. And so everything will then start flowing from that. So एक बार ये theory of change आ गया, then the second step is to look at the logic model for each of your programs. Because हर एक program के जो activities है, उसके outputs क्या है? Like what are we achieving directly through activities? Outputs क्या निकल के आ रहे हैं? Secondly, outcomes क्या आ रहे हैं, right? So short term to medium term outcomes, the changes that we want to see through those activities, what are those outcomes? उनके indicators क्या है? All of that का एक structure और एक framework if you create for your organization, then it's like a ready reckoner. You can, any team member can just go back to that framework and refer to it. ये प्रोग्राम है, इसमें हम ये 10 एक्टिविटीज करते हैं, इसमें ये रिजल्ट निकल के आया या नहीं, राइट? एंड हाउ डू वी मेजर दैट? उसके कुछ इंडिकेटर्स बनाने हैं. सो दैट इज योर लॉजिक मॉडल फ्रेमवर्क फॉर योर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन which flows from your theory of change, right? Then once this exercise you are doing, after that look at the data collection tools that you need to collect the data. So abhi, how are you able to communicate some of these things will be supported by the tools that you have. तो किस तरह से हमें वो measure करना है? All those tools will help you measure it. Then you will get up-to-date data, which you will be then able to analyze for your organization and then report progress on the same, right? So जैसे ही data collection होता है, then the next step is to take insights from your data. So data analysis करना. So you need to consolidate the data into one centralized system जहाँ पे you can see all the data, because जब तक दिखेगा नहीं तब तक analysis होगा नहीं. So you need a system to be able to bring all the data together, analyze it based on कि what did you really want to achieve out of this, तो वो एक्टिविटी आपको एज अ रिफ्लेक्शन टीम के साथ करना है, सो दैट यू आर एबल टू मेक इन्फॉर्म्ड डिसीजंस एंड चॉइसेस फॉर योर प्रोग्राम. एंड लास्ट इज, you have done all of this, but we also need to communicate the good work we are doing. So how are we communicating this impact, and how is this impact really helping us to scale our programs or scale our organization? All of this can be reported, articulated, and communicated, right? So this is the whole process that we need to follow for an organization. That is why when we say monitoring and evaluation, उसमें क्या क्या होता है, तो ये सारे steps होते हैं जो आपको end to end करने हैं. That will make you feel confident about reaching to a certain level in the organization, to a certain scale. Right, I think, yeah, this was the last area. I would suggest we can go back to the poll because poll will give you an idea of all the inputs. सारे inputs हमने poll के format में किए हैं, which will be shared with you later as a checklist. So we can complete the poll. We have 5 minutes. We can complete the poll and then 5 minutes for any questions. Right, all good to go?
By any chance, if you're unable to access or use the Mentimeter, please feel free to write your answers in the chat box.
Yeah.
And if you can all give a thumbs up if you're ready with your back to your Mentimeters.
Okay, I'll just right. So there are 2-3 areas that we covered in the end. सबका एक साथ यहाँ पे कर रहे हैं. Yeah, so the first question is, do we have a system to identify high potential leaders for our organizations? जैसे हम performance appraisal के वक्त do we have a system in place जहाँ पे उसके बाद we are able to identify कि कौन से employees हमारे high potential employees हैं and how do we invest into their growth and development so that they succeed and hence our organization succeeds, right? तो कुछ लोगों के पास है, कुछ नहीं है. Waiting for more responses. Do come online menti.com and use the code to access the poll. Okay, I'll move next. We have 19 responses. तो इसके बाद, do you provide mentorship opportunities through managers to nurture leadership at various levels and strengthen the second line of leadership? So क्या do you have like mentorship opportunities second line को build करने के लिए या फिर हर एक level को build करने के लिए क्या उनके managers उनके लिए enough development या mentoring उनको करते हैं या नहीं? Okay, good to see. Good to see a lot of mentoring is happening. Do continue doing that. Do you promote active engagement with sector trends through social media platforms, participation in events, forums, and publishing thought articles? So यहाँ पे एक तो sector trends identify करने के लिए we have to be present on LinkedIn and some other social media platforms. Do we even voice out our opinions on some of the sector related discussions that are happening? क्या हम events में participate करते हैं वहाँ पे? क्या हम panel discussions में participate करते हैं? Do we write our own articles, thought pieces, papers या फिर कुछ case studies हमारे हैं जो हम लोगों तक पहुंचा सकते हैं? Okay, somewhat we are doing it, but okay, I would still say कि ये हमें ज़्यादा लोगों में बांटना चाहिए. Knowledge definitely should be shared. Then, okay, next question. Do we have a clear governance framework that outlines roles, responsibilities, and expectations of board members? So like I said, कि not just having roles, responsibilities, but expectations from the board members clearly laid down कि उनको क्या क्या करना है organization के लिए, not just giving them updates, but उनका active involvement होना जरूरी है. So to some extent we are doing this, but we should make sure that we are also able to assess कि जो उनसे expectations थे या roles थे क्या वो perform कर रहे कि नहीं, right? तो वो भी थोड़ा हमें measure करना चाहिए. Okay, next. Do you have strategic partnerships with NGO partners with aligned missions and complementary expertise for collaborations and with a partnership plan? So क्या हमारे पास ऐसे collaborations है, partnerships है दूसरे NGOs के साथ with a proper plan, structure, review जो हम करते हैं? Because again, this helps you to grow, right? So good to see 10 NGOs doing it. Yeah, we should definitely leverage more of this partnership in the sector. Next is, do you have a well-defined brand strategy, brand guidelines है, मतलब किस तरह के हमारे colors, fonts, templates होने चाहिए, कोई भी documents के, messaging क्या होना चाहिए दूसरे stakeholders के लिए. All of that is your brand strategy and guidelines. And again, it aligns with your vision, it aligns with your values. And are we communicating it rightly to the stakeholders or not? It's a good assessment to see if some of us are doing it. Any more responses on this question? Okay, we can move to the next. Do you develop content and thought leadership pieces to share at forums and through offline networks and online channels? So, like I was saying, certain articles or case studies that we are writing and sharing it either online through our social media channels, websites, or offline through different events where we are going and talking about it. Almost same, but yeah. Yes, definitely would encourage all of you to do this. Shared knowledge is always better. And the more you communicate, the better the sector. Okay. Do you cultivate strong relationships with external stakeholders, such as government, community leaders, sector influencers, to enhance your reputation? So to build that recognition credibility, are we taking up? Are we taking this up? Yeah. Okay. Good to see again. So all of these things, when we do together, is when we say that we have built a strong capacity in our organization, right? Okay, now the last section on M&E. Do we have an organizational theory of change and logic model for each of our programs? If you have this documented and if you're following it in your organization, then say yes. Otherwise, it's a no or a some. And this is for your own assessment. Honestly, it's for your self reflection, right? Any more responses? Responses कम होते जा रहे हैं क्या? Do you have all data collection tools and a centralized database for easy access to real-time data and impact metrics? जहाँ पे आपका सारा डेटा कोलेट होके आता है और आपको दिखता है, जहाँ से आप एनालिसिस कर सकते हो और रिपोर्टिंग कर सकते हो. That sort of a tool and database we are talking about. कुछ हद तक है, okay, but can always be built. Okay, and also keep in mind to have one person who is handling this. So always have at least half a dedicated resource जो ये काम आपको करके दे सके. Okay, and do you conduct a periodic review of impact data that drives programmatic and organizational level decisions? I think ये second last question है. So decisions लेने के लिए data review करना जरूरी है. So as a practice in your organization, are you doing this like with your program team? Sometimes the leadership team is also say sitting in on those program conversations to make sure कि decisions जो ले रहे हैं वो informed decisions है data के basis पे है, not because one person is saying something. Okay. And the last question, do you have a long-term strategic plan with clear measurable milestones for program expansion and scale-up? कि every year, what are those 3-4 things you will achieve as your milestones? क्या goals है, क्या achieve करना है, उसके लिए क्या activities करना है, क्या timelines है? ये सारा कुछ एक plan में है या नहीं? Okay, waiting for few more responses, last few responses. Okay, almost 15-16 responses are गए हैं. So good to see that plans है. Make sure that we also implement the plans in time. Okay, I think this was the last question. This is the end of the Mentimeter quiz. So I will stop sharing my screen now. We have 2-3 minutes to address any questions, thoughts, feedback that you guys want to share. Like I said, I couldn't cover everything in detail, but this again is to give you an idea of the overall picture that you need to have for your organization, which capacities you need to really focus, build on. And then after that, like these inputs that will help you to achieve those outcomes, right? So all of these things will help you there. And of course, there'll be more, but this is like a guideline, sort of a list. Yeah. Any
And
questions, thoughts, feedback?
yeah, please do share if there are any questions. And I've also shared a feedback form. We हम उसको उस पे सच में ध्यान देते हैं every single feedback. So please do fill it out. And also there is I'm sharing another link of a intermediary database where you can find it's a very extensive verified list of people who are in the sector who can help you with various different OD journeys, and there is also a short video of the same of the demo online. Do if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can also see a lot of the things, and you'll not miss anything. So yeah, but yeah, waiting to hear any questions, any thoughts, or any more resource sharing, because I hear a lot of people asking for the networks, and looking at so many familiar faces here, I know that over the last few years, this webinar space also has become a community, right? Matlab, Ratna sir, Tejashree, Healing Hands, all of you keep coming, and it's so heartwarming actually. So yeah, would love to hear from you, and if you have any questions for Kavita, obviously.
Yeah, I just had a general question.
Mhm.
See, for a mid-level organization, we understand the whole complexities of the organizational development and the kind of organizational capacity building that is required for growth and scaling up. And always, of course, it's a big challenge. So we have resource challenge, we have human resource challenge, we have capacity building challenge, and we have to struggle daily on so many challenges that we have to really take into account when we are looking into actual growth. Once the organization reaches a scale and you have more capacities and more people and things are a little bit sufficient in terms of resources, I think it is a little easier to manage many things a little smoothly. But I think that's something we need, those kind of experiences, actual practical sharing, how to really face this kind of challenges on a regular basis to deal with such things. That's quite a real challenging thing for any organization at that, especially in the small scale and mid scale level.
Right. I mean, we totally understand and we hear you, because I know that for small to mid-sized organization, doing everything together is also not possible. Like I said, some of these small steps you'll have to take. The checklist that we share with you will help you to guide through some of these steps that you can take for your organization. You will then have to prioritize and see which ones are most feasible, that you can work on immediately, which ones you have to park, and, where you have to bring in those resources. So, and again, like I said, if you are able to reach out to more people, build those networks, partnerships, you will automatically start seeing the difference. But having the systems in place and that process for your organization, which is actually coming internally, not that somebody else is doing it for you, but it is coming internally from your own team. So that, it's from within the organization, it will sustain, it will stay. It is just about having that orientation with the team and doing it on a regular basis. That will help you experience it, and things will, keep moving then. So that's my perspective on it. Yeah, but we'll try and share as much examples also as possible.
No, you are right. Actually, we are also learning gradually and doing things, and things are developing. But
Yeah.
it's all it's quite a big challenge actually.
Right. No, definitely I agree. And we'll see if we can, because we are taking up each of these topics, like the next webinar will be on M&E, right? So we are taking up each of these topics because each topic requires like an entire day of workshop to even get into the, details of how to do this, how to do that. So do look out for such more workshop sessions that we conduct for NGOs. And otherwise, just feel free to reach out to us over email if you all want to work with us.
I think Atma also wants to say something. Yeah.
Yes, I will not repeat my feedback because that I have already mentioned for the both of you. So kudos. Really happy to be a part of the session today. I learned a lot of things. So thank you so much for that. But otherwise, please go through my feedback as well. I wanted to add on to what Manojji said, and I can understand that for young to mid-size NGOs, looking all of this together at one go can seem very daunting, very exhaustive, very overwhelming. But as Kavita ji has suggested, get into the habit and practice of doing it one capacity at a time, very soon when you look back, you will realize that you've reached there, and then it will sort of become an everyday thing that you do as a part of your management. But please start. I think that is the key. Please start. Don't look at achieving this at one go and in overnight. It's a process, and we'll have to respect the gestation period as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Could not have said it
Thank you,
better,
Fatima.
Fatima.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you, Fatima, for your words. Okay. Vaishali, if we have 5 minutes, we can do a quick demo of the intermediary database. Again, a very useful resource for everyone here. So let's just do that for 5 minutes before we close the session.
And if you have questions, please do keep them coming. In the feedback form also, there is space for your questions, and the speaker does answer them afterwards as well. Like I'll be sending you all an email by tomorrow, day after. So yeah.
Okay, just going to quickly again share my screen to show this. So, sorry. So what we have done is we have actually collated a database. Is my screen visible? Oh, sorry. I don't think this is. Sorry, is my screen visible, Vaishali?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay. So what we have done this, and we have done this in partnership with Britspan and A.T. Chandra Foundation, is we have tried to create a list of all the intermediaries or organizations that provide support to NGOs in the areas of capacity building. So all the areas that we have touched upon today and more such areas, we have collated a list of 100 plus organizations who are existing in the sector, who are providing services and support to NGOs. And all of this information is coming directly from the NGO, from the intermediaries themselves. So it's a very verified, validated sort of information. We have not used any secondary resource, but it's coming directly from a primary source. So you can go through this link. It is an Excel sheet, Google sheet. It talks about the partners over here and how do we navigate the database. So once you have opened this, you can go to the searchable tab over here. And the first thing you can filter. So these searchable tabs allows you to filter through some of the areas and get a list of organizations. So the functional expertise is the capacity building area. So here, if you look at the drop down, there are 13 such areas that we have added. And in each of these areas, you can just select an area. Say you want to select human resources. So we selected HR. So you will find, say, 13 results of, like, there are 13 organizations who are providing support in HR. So their names get listed up over here. Again, within HR, we have certain subcategories. So if you want, you can have a very specific search. If you want somebody who's only helping, say, with HR policies and processes, then you type over there, then a list of 8 organizations has come up who will help you with your HR policies and processes. There is also a third level of filter, which talks about the services, the type of services and programs. So whether it's consulting, whether it's pure capacity building, whether it's just a course, or it's a technological solution, you can further filter, or you can just say all and it will show you all the names and you can go through each one of them. So these are some of the areas that the organization has disclosed as their expertise areas, and hence they appear in these searches over here. You will be able to find more information about them if you just scroll a little bit on the right, where we are talking about the service provider, we are talking about the expertise areas and some of the NGOs that they have actually worked with. We are giving those references here. Now, if you move to the third tab, which is the intermediary details, here you will see the entire database. So if I just scroll down, we have 107 already, and we are actually adding more to this. So we have 107 names with really detailed information because it has taken us a lot of time to put all of this together directly from the organizations themselves. So you'll be able to see the founding year, who's the CEO, profile of the CEO, how many team members they have, where are they providing their services, the location, sector of work, what is the impact that they are creating. You can go through the links of their website, LinkedIn pages. And again, what are they actually offering? So you can look at these areas and you can see yes or no. So this is like a table where all the 13 areas that I showed you in the drop down are listed here. And out of that, which areas they're actually providing you with support is listed here. And more details again on the right. So which actually tells you that within that area, what are they actually doing is all the information on the right. So you can explore it at your own free time. And Also, once you will have gone through it, please let us know your feedback. There's a feedback form link over here to add in your feedback in that form. But this is how you can search, and this is how you can go through all the details. From here also, you can click on the link and it will take you to that. So suppose if it is Atma, then you just click on the link. It will take you to the Atma's row so that you don't have to every time search through it. Links are workable over here. So yeah, I think this was a small demo that we wanted to show all of you.
And
We are-
hopefully this helps, some of the things that you were asking, right? Like who are the people who can help us, like small organizations, big organizations. And I just want to call out that every single resource that you see there, uh, Kavita has personally called them, I think more than once, to get all the details right. So it has been like cross-verified, and our other colleagues are continuing to update them, right? It's been almost a year since this has been out. So we're constantly doing that. Yeah, we would love to know if more people should be added to the database as well. Please do reach out to us if you want to be added, or if you know someone who should be added. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and if
that's
you want to
true.
get connected to someone on the database, you can let us know.
Yeah. So it is not a database of NGOs, Tejasri. That is why you probably cannot be part of it. But yeah, I'm sharing it again, Uttara, and also I'll be sharing all of this on email as well. So don't worry. Um, so there you go.
Yeah, we'll share it in email also later.
Yeah, it'll all come to you. Um, 1 second.
Ravi, I'm based in Mumbai and I'm working with Atma.